Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Jasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Jasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Jayo Radha Krishna Chandra, Radha Krishna Chandra Radhe.
Jaya Radha Krishna Chandra, Radha Krishna Chandra Radhe.
Jayo Radha Krishna Chandra, Radha Krishna Chandra Radhe.
Radha Krishna Chandra Radhe.
Jayo Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Jayo Nitai Gauranga.
Jaya Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Jaya Nitai Gauranga.
Jayo Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhu.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakachaari Ashtotra Shri Srimad Divine Grace Abhay Charan Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakachaari Ashtotra Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 16th chapter. Text number 18. त्वत्तः सनातनो धर्मो रक्ष्यते तनुभिस्तवा धर्मस्य परमो गुह्यो निर्विकारो भवान्मतः. त्वत्तः सनातनो धर्मो रक्ष्यते तनुभिस्तवा धर्मस्य परमो गुह्यो निर्विकारो भवान्मतः. त्वत्तः सनातनो धर्मो रक्ष्यते तनुभिस्तवा धर्मस्य परमो गुह्यो निर्विकारो भवान्मतः.
सनातनो धर्मो रक्ष्यते तनुभिस्तवा धर्मस्य परमो गुह्यो निर्विकारो भवान्मतः.
Word to word meaning. Tvattaha, from you. Sanatanaha, eternal. Dharmaha, occupation. Rakshyate, is protected. Tanubihi, by multi-manifestations. Tava, your. Dharmasya, of religious principles. Paramaha, the supreme. Guhyaha, objective. Nirvikaraha, unchangeable. Bhavan, you. Mataha, in our opinion. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. You are the source of the eternal occupation of all living entities, and by your multi-manifestations of personalities of Godhead, you have always protected religion. You are the supreme objective of religious principles, and in our opinion, you are inexhaustible and unchangeable eternally. Please repeat the translation. You are the source of the eternal occupation of all living entities. And by your multi-manifestations of personalities of Godhead, you have always protected religion. You are the supreme objective of religious principles. And in our opinion, you are inexhaustible and unchangeable eternally. Purport. The statement in this verse, Dharmasya Paramo Guhyaha, refers to the most confidential part of all religious principles. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. The conclusion of Lord Krishna in his advice to Arjuna is, give up all other religious engagement and just surrender unto me. This is the most confidential knowledge in executing religious principles. In the Bhagavatam also it is stated that if one does not become Krishna conscious after very rigidly executing one's specified religious duties, all his labor in following so-called religious principles is simply a waste of time. Here also the sages confirm the statement that the Supreme Lord, not the demigods, is the ultimate goal of all religious principles. There are many foolish propagandists who say that worship of the demigods is also a way to reach the Supreme God, Supreme goal. But in the authorized statements of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, this is not accepted. Bhagavad Gita says that one who worships a particular demigod can reach the demigod's planet, but one who worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead can enter into Vaikuntha. Some propagandists say that regardless of what one does, he will ultimately reach the supreme abode of the personality of Godhead. But that is not valid. The Lord is eternal, the Lord's servitor is eternal, and the Lord's abode is also eternal. They are all described here as Sanatana or eternal. The result of devotional service, therefore, is not temporary, as is the achievement of heavenly planets by worshipping the demigods. The sages wanted to stress that although the Lord, out of his causeless mercy, says that he worships the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, actually the Lord is worshipable not only by the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, but also by the demigods. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. त्वत्तः सनातनो धर्मो रक्ष्यते तनुभिस्तवा धर्मस्य परमो गुह्यो निर्विकारो भवान्मतः. You are the source of the eternal occupation of all living entities, and by your multi-manifestations of personalities of Godhead, you have always protected religion. You are the supreme objective of religious principles, and in our opinion, you are the inexhaustible and unchangeable eternally. So the four Kumaras, the sages, in a prayerful mood, in a mood of submission towards the Lord, they are glorifying the different qualities and aspects of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayana. And in this connection, in their glorification, they are telling the Supreme Lord that the Lord, you are the source of all eternal occupation of all living entities. Yes, our eternal living entities, real objective of life should be to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. That is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Sanatan Goswami. The famous verse, Jivere Swarupo Hoi Nityera Krishna Das, was told by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sanatan Goswami that the living entity's constitutional position is to be situated in engaging or in engagement of service to Lord Krishna. So this same principle in the Srimad Bhagavatam is being mentioned here by the four Kumaras to the Supreme Lord, that the living entity's original position is to be in constant service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the eternal occupation of the Supreme Personality. Eternally, Nityera Krishna Das. See, there also it is mentioned Nityera. And here it is being said, Tvattah Sanatano Dharmo. Tvattah Sanatano Dharma. Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana means eternally to be your occupation. Dharma means occupation. Is to be engaged in Sanatana, serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this truth of living entities' role is what we have to identify and be in that state. You see, so many misunderstandings in the name of religion is there. The simple truth of religion is this. The ultimate truth is this. Living entity should be situated in constantly engaging in the service of the Lord. This is the absolute, this is the total truth. All religious knowledge is there in this one line, that living entity should be constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. Whereas in the name of religion, so many different things people talk about. And confuse people, misdirect people about what living entities should aspire for. When it is being so clearly mentioned by the Shastras, why there should be any other interpretations to this ultimate truth? We are all misdirected. We all engage not in the service of the Lord. We all engage in different activities dictated by the mind, body and senses. And Shastras, Acharyas, saints, sages, they are all telling us to shift from the misunderstanding of serving the mind, senses and body to being situated in constantly engaging in the service of the Supreme Lord eternally. So living entities must take up that path which will bring them back to that eternal occupation of the living entity, not the temporary occupation. The temporary gratification is sensual in nature, whereas the eternal occupation is spiritual in nature. Spiritual nature is eternal. Sensual behavior is temporary. Sensual behavior binds us to this material world. Spiritual activity, spiritual behavior liberates us from this material world. One has got a liberating effect, one has got a binding effect. Action performed sensually, actions performed materially will bind us to this material world. These are all very, very fundamental distinctions that are being mentioned by our scriptures. So Srimad Bhagavatam, when we read daily, when we hear daily, it reminds us, re-establishes the eternal purpose of our life. Fundamental things. In this material world, when we are living, Maya is so deceptive. No matter how strong we are, or how many years and how much of practice we have had in spiritual life, yet Maya can penetrate. Nikatastha Maya japatiya dare. Maya is so near us that she will immediately trap us. So we need to keep hearing the fundamental truths again and again. Otherwise we will get lost. You may be an expert driver. You may be very, very good driver. But for an accident, it just takes 1 second. That expert driver, if he just closes his eyes for a moment, the reality of accident doesn't exclude that person. He is also be involved. We have seen so many expert drivers. They make accidents. Formula 1 racer, he also has died in an accident. So many expert stunt masters, they also have met with various types of accidents. Because that is the nature of this material world. That is the nature. You will make mistakes in this material world. So we must hear repeatedly. It is not that, Prabhu, it is not that I know. Sometimes, when you watch a movie, the second time you watch, you will not have the same thrill. Because you already know the story. You already know what is going to happen next. So, the interest is not there to watch it second time. But in spiritual subject matter, it is different. The more you perform spiritual activity, the more you become excited, the more the revelation becomes. Svadhu svadhu pade pade. Bhagavatam says, Svadhu svadhu pade pade. It is so relishable, the words of the scriptures, that it is the Bhagavatam in the first canto says, what is that verse? 1119. Okay. वयम तु न वित्रप्यामा उत्तम श्लोक विक्रमे यत् शृण्वतां रसज्ञानं स्वादु स्वादु पदे पदे. वयम तु न वित्रप्यामा उत्तम श्लोक विक्रमे यत् शृण्वतां रसज्ञानं स्वादु स्वादु पदे पदे. So the sages of Naimisharanya, they are telling in this verse, hearing the words of Sutta Goswami, Shaunaka Rishi and their saints are saying, we never tire of hearing the transcendental pastimes of the personality of Godhead, who is glorified by hymns and prayers. Those who have developed a taste for transcendental relationships with Him relish hearing of His pastimes at every moment. So, in the material world, material sense pleasure becomes very, very boring. After you have tasted it, you have lost interest in it. Whereas the spiritual taste, you taste it and the more you want to taste it. We never tire of hearing transcendental pastimes of the personality of Godhead, who is glorified by hymns and prayers. Those who have developed a taste for transcendental relationship with Him relish hearing of His pastime at every moment. And Prabhupada in this purport says, there is a great difference between mundane stories, fiction or history, and the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. The histories of the whole universe contain references to the pastimes of the incarnations of the Lord. The Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Puranas are histories of bygone ages recorded in connection with the pastimes of the incarnations of the Lord, and therefore remain fresh even after repeated readings. For example, anyone may read Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam repeatedly throughout the whole life and yet find in them new light of information. Mundane news is static, whereas transcendental news is dynamic. See, Prabhupada is using so nice words. Mundane news is static, whereas transcendental news is dynamic. And matter is static. Those who have developed a taste for understanding the transcendental subject matter are never tired of hearing such narrations. One is quickly satiated by mundane activities, but no one is satiated by transcendental or devotional activities. Uttama Shloka indicates that literature which is meant for Nishans, which is not meant for Nishans. Mundane literature is in the mode of darkness or ignorance, whereas transcendental literature is quite different. Transcendental literature is above the modes of darkness and its light becomes more luminous with progressive reading and realization of the transcendental subject matter. The so called liberated persons are never satisfied by the repetition of the words Aham Brahmasmi. Such artificial realization of Brahman becomes hackneyed, and so to relish real pleasure, they turn to the narrations of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Those who are not so fortunate turn to altruism and worldly philanthropy. This means the Mayavada philosophy is mundane, whereas the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is transcendental. So here, the four Kumaras are telling what? The four Kumaras are saying, you are the source of eternal occupation of living entity. Tvattah sanatano dharma rakshyathe tanubhistava. So they are saying that you are the source of eternal occupation of living entities, not the temporary things. So we must develop the taste. We must develop the interest towards eternal activity rather than very temporary activities. We have to shift attention from the temporary to the permanent, from the temporary to the eternal. And here it is being said, this is the Paramo Guhyam, Dharmasya Paramo Guhyam. This is the most confidential aspect. What is the most confidential thing? To shift from temporary to permanent. And what is temporary? What is permanent? Temporary is material activity. Permanent and eternal is spiritual activity. And what is that spiritual activity? To be constantly engaged in serving the Lord. Now, where does Krishna say about this? In the Bhagavad Gita also. Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita. This Paramam Guhyam. What is this Paramam Guhyam? What does Krishna says? Krishna says in the 18th chapter, Ya idamam paramam guhyam mad bhaktesh abhidasyati bhaktim mahi param kritva mame vaishyat asamshayaha. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, what does Krishna say? Why does Krishna say? Where does Krishna quote this verse? In what context does Krishna quote this verse? Yaidam paramam guhyam mad bhaktesh abhidasyati bhaktim mahi param kritva mame vaishyatya samshayaha. For one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end he will come back to me. What is the secret Krishna is saying here? That one who explains this supreme secret, devotional service is guaranteed, at the end he will come back. What is Krishna referring to as the supreme secret? What is that? This is the most famous verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is saying, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. Krishna is saying, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. Krishna is saying, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me, and I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Then Krishna says what? Idam te na tapaskaya na bhaktaya kadachana na chashru shave vachyam na cha mam abhisuyate. This confidential knowledge, Krishna is saying, idam te na atapaskaya. This truth of sarva dharman parityajya should not be told to somebody who is not doing tapasya. Tapasya means what? Tapasya means he is trying to go beyond the mind, body and senses. He is trying to shift himself. One who is not trying to shift himself from his bodily identity, he is called a what? Bhogi. One who is trying to enjoy his mind, body and senses, he is called a bhogi. A bhogi cannot understand sarvadharman parityajya. You should not tell sarvadharman parityajya to a bhogi. So what should you tell a sarvadharman? What should you tell to a bhogi? What does our Sampradaya says that you should tell to a bhogi? What can you tell? Papi tapi yata chilo harinama uddarilo. You can tell him what? You do harinam. But you should not tell sarvadharman parityajya. Sometimes devotees, we start speaking. No. Krishna has prohibited us. He is not in a platform. Harinama Uddharilo is tapasya. We are trying to put him into tapasya. We are trying to engage him in tapasya activity. We know so many people come to the temple. They are not interested in tapasya because they have deep material desires. So much material desire is there. So we must not tell this truth. Because if we tell, you will start making offenses to Krishna. Not that we cannot tell. We want to stop because he does not, he is not ready for it. Supposing you have a, why do the government say you should become 18 years to drive a car, to drive a vehicle? Because his brain, his intelligence is not really evolved. Driving means what? Responsibility. Not only for your life, for the other person's life also, no? A child is irresponsible. So we have made the rule that no, this is too risky a job. A child cannot do such kind of things. So actually in spiritual life, the Guru, the Acharya, they have said, you can do this, you cannot do this. You can do this, you cannot do this. Sometimes devotees ask, Prabhu, why should I not do this? Why cannot I do this? I should also do this. I have the ability. Like the small children argue. When the father says, you cannot go there, you cannot do this, what does the child do? Hey, how can you say this? I want to do. And the child makes tantrums. But then the father says, no, a good father, a good mother will tell, no, you cannot do that. You have to wait. You will not get that. That is for his own good and for the good of others also. So we have to be obedient. So here, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, the same aspect which the four Kumaras are saying, Dharmo Paramo Guhyam. That same, what is this Dharma Paramo Guhyam? That Paramo Guhyam is Sarva Dharman Parityajya. That is Paramam Guhyam. But Krishna is saying, here, Krishna is saying what? Yahidam paramam guhyam mad bhaktesh abhidhasyati bhaktim mahi param kritva mame vaishyatya samshaya. Krishna is saying, for one who explains this supreme secret to the devotees, not to bhogis, not to non-devotee. Bhogi is non-devotee. So you should explain this Sarva Dharman Parityajya philosophy, the dimension of service, to whom? Only to devotees. And if you do like that, then devotional service is guaranteed at the end and he will come back to me. Bhaktim mahi param kritva mame vaishyat asamshaya. Krishna is saying, he is assuring that mame vaishyat asamshaya. Without any doubt, that person will come back to me. Again, there are so many relevant aspects like that. Krishna is saying, mat karma krin mat paramo mat bhakta sanga varjita nirvairah sarva bhuteshu yasa mama eti pandava. Krishna is saying, my dear Arjuna, he who engages in my pure devotional service, free from the contaminations of fruitive. Again, here with respect to this verse, Tvattah sanatano dharma. What is sanatana dharma? Sanatana dharma is this. Krishna is saying that he who engages in my pure devotional service, mat karma, mat karma krin mat paramaha. One who engages in my service is mat parama, he is the highest. Mat bhaktah sanga varjitaha nirvairah sarvabhuteshu yasa mama eti pandava. My dear Arjuna, he who engages in my pure devotional service, free from contaminations of fruitive activities and mental speculations, he who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is friendly to all living entities, he certainly comes to me. So this eternal occupation, that is the conclusion of the Vedas. That is the conclusion of knowledge. That eternally we have to serve the Supreme. Vedaischa sarver ameva vedyo vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham. Krishna is saying again in the Bhagavad Gita. The conclusion of all knowledge is to come to me, to be situated in me. What is to be known is the Supreme Lord of the Vedas. I am to be known. Vedaischa sarver ahameva vedyam. I am the compiler of the Vedas and I am the knower of the Vedas. Vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham. So this reality we must understand. So here the four Kumaras are describing the Lord as the source of eternal occupation of all living entities and by our multi-manifestations. So we must also be situated in this platform of being constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. We must not allow our mind to shift here and there by adopting the principles of Rupa Goswami's Yukta Vairagya principles of engaging our activities, of converting our so-called mundane activities by connecting it with Krishna. We can be situated like this. Even so-called material activities become spiritualized if the purpose of all those material activities is dovetailed in the service of the Lord. So when we are engaging, we must never forget. But if we forget, then it becomes material. We go out for collection service, we do this, we meet that. We must remember that whatever I am doing is an action of service. But then while doing that, if I want to take credit, if I become possessive, then we become contaminated, become material activity. We must be free from all this kind of possessiveness. Okay, we'll stop here if there's any question, comments. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की.